None of it has been enough to mute liberals, some of whom at Salon.com, days after the shooting, ran a piece entitled, "America is Suffering from a Plague of Deadly and Unaccountable Racist Police Violence." The author of that piece, Celisa Calacal, joins us tonight. Celisa, thanks for coming on.
Hi, Tucker. Thanks for having me.
Well, she does seem quite happy right now, but if I've learned anything from watching Tucker, she's not going to be happy for very long.
So, I guess I have a more nuanced view of this. I think that there is behavior by police, as there is by, every sector of society, that's impossible to excuse and that should be cracked down on. I guess what I disapproved of in your piece was the generalizations that you made.
And just like that, the smile is gone. She's actually surprised that he disapproved of something on her piece. Look at how she tilts her head on this one.
I disapproved of in your piece was the generalizations that you made.
I'm sorry now. I'm sorry now.
That police as a group are racist and violent, and I wonder how you reached that conclusion.
Well, in my piece, I never actually said that police are racist.
Now, you've got to hand it to her. She is trying, so I'm going to give her kudos on that. But that smile of hers, that snarky smile, is going to be erased quickly. She did call the police racist.
What I talk about is police violence and the rate of police officers who kill civilians in recent years. If you look at the numbers, in 2015 and 2016, over 1,000 people have been shot and killed by police officers. Those numbers don't lie. And this year, over 500 people so far have been killed by police. So what I'm talking about is police violence that kills a lot of people. And a lot of those people are unarmed or they don't pose a threat to officers. And those are alarmingly high numbers.
Okay, so let's talk numbers. In July 2016, the Washington Post came out with this report. According to the most recent census data, there are nearly 160 million more white people in America than there are black people. White people make up roughly 62% of the U.S. population, but only about 49% of those who are killed by police officers. African Americans, however, account for 20% of those fatally shot and killed by police, despite being just 13% of the U.S. population. As the Post noted in a new analysis published last week, that means black Americans are now 2.5 times as likely as white Americans to be shot and killed by police officers. Now, I realize that she is also talking about unarmed, and I'm not going to put a whole bunch of effort into coming up with the data on that. You guys can do that yourself.
So in my piece, I never say that police are racist, but they can get violent very quickly, as we've seen in a lot of...
Right. I mean, I don't want to, I don't want to contradict you because you seem sincere, but I don't know if you can see, we've got the headline of your piece up on the screen right next to you. It says, and I'm quoting, "America is suffering from a plague of deadly, unaccountable, and racist police violence." A plague of it. That seems like a generalization now. I would agree with you completely. Any shooting is too many shootings, but this is complicated stuff, and so to dismiss it, as your piece did, as racist without proving that seemed unfair and not really like journalism.
Well, if you look at the demographics of the people that are killed by police, disproportionately a number of them are black and brown people.
Alrighty then, let's go back to talking about numbers. Now, this is from channel14.com. It's true that around 13% of Americans are black, according to the latest estimates from the U.S. Census Bureau. And yes, according to the Bureau of Justice Statistics, black offenders committed 52% of homicides recorded in the data between 1980 and 2008. Only 45% of the offenders were white. Homicide is a broader category than murder, but let's not split hairs. blacks were disproportionately likely to commit homicide and to be the victims. In 2008, the offending rate for blacks was 7 times higher than for whites, and the victimization rate was 6 times higher. As we found yesterday, 93% of black victims were killed by blacks, and 84% of white victims were killed by whites. Alternative statistics from the FBI are more up to date, but include many crimes where the killer's race is not recorded. These numbers tell a similar story. In 2013, the FBI had black criminals carrying out 38% of murders, compared to 31.1% for whites. The offender's race was unknown in 29.1% of the cases. I've got to ask this question. How were they unknown? Or why was it that nobody bothered to describe the offender in a manner that would give you the race? Blacks are disproportionate when it comes to being the victims and the criminals, when you take into account the actual population.
Black people are 3 times more likely to be killed by police than white people, and in a lot of cases, 69% of black people that are shot and killed by police are actually unarmed, or they didn't pose a violent threat. So in my piece, I show that police violence disproportionately affects the black and brown communities, more so than other communities. So
okay, well, but they're also much higher. I mean, this is again a complex matter, and there are much higher crime rates in those communities for, you know, who knows why, but there are, and so that may be a factor in this. But here are some numbers that I think show just how complicated.
Oh my, what a snarky little bitch she is. She's about to have her ass handed to her on a silver platter. I honestly don't know how Tucker keeps getting these leftist lunatics on his show. It's amazing that they actually line up to get there.
This is. So there was a study a couple of years ago of the about 2,700 police shootings between 2013 and 2015, and I'm quoting now, found that the odds of a black suspect being killed by a black officer were consistently greater than the odds of a black suspect being killed by a white officer.
Oh no, facts were brought in, and she looks terribly bored now. I wonder if she can stay awake.
It doesn't prove anything necessarily, but it does maybe show that racism isn't as simple in this context as you're making it sound. If a black suspect's more likely to be shot by a black cop, then what does that tell us about racism?
Who is she looking at? It's like she was prompted to do this piece and didn't fully research the material.
well, I think what it tells us is we have to look at the system and not the individual police officers that are killing these people. Systematically, the way police officers are trained, they're taught to go for violence first. In a lot of states, they don't tell police officers to resort to other means to subdue a subject other than shooting and killing them. So
okay, but hold on, but right, there are two different things. You know, whether non-lethal force ought to be used first is a valid question, but I want to get to the question of race. So,
and in all fairness, she was the one who brought up race, not only in her headline, but in her statements of black and brown people.
And I'm quoting, white officers statistically less likely than black officers to kill black suspects. So if all cops are being taught to be racist, why are black cops more likely to shoot black suspects? It doesn't really make much sense, does it?
No, you're looking at it individually. It needs to be looked at as a
I'm
systemic.
just looking at the numbers.
No, it's supposed to be. You have to look at it in a systemic way, where you look at the system.
Oh no, she said systemic. Okay, that's my cue to leave. I hope you guys have a good one. Talk to you later. Even my dog doesn't like the word.